Welcome everybody to Law&Crime Daily. I'm Jesse Weber. Big news Monday in the long-running feud between actress Amber Heard and her ex-husband, actor Johnny Depp. You likely remember their defamation cases against each other, which captured the nation's attention for weeks. Well, Amber Heard announced Monday that she has reached a settlement with Johnny Depp where she will pay him $1 million. Now, in February 2019, Depp sued Heard over an op-ed that she wrote for the Washington Post in which she claimed that she was the victim of domestic violence. Heard then countersued, and in the end, jurors returned a more than $10 million judgment against Heard while giving her a separate $2 million judgment in her favor because of Depp's attorney calling her claims a hoax. Heard vowed to appeal, that is, until this settlement. Depp's legal team says that he plans to donate the $1 million to charity. Heard said in a series of Instagram posts that she's not making any admissions that she did anything wrong, but rather sees this as the only way out of a bad situation. Law&Crime followed this trial from beginning to end, bringing it every moment of testimony, as well as, of course, the monumental verdict.
To use what I've lived through and what I've survived, calling it fake, saying that I'm harming Johnny with this, I'm harming the public with this. This is what I've lived through. And to say that it's a hoax, that these aren't even real things. Also, I hadn't even spoken about the sexual abuse within my marriage. I had been protective of that. I didn't want to talk about that ever. I had to go to another country to give testimony, and thankfully they allowed me to do so with confidentiality and some protection. And then Johnny, through his lawyer, not only uses that against me, but says it's a hoax.
As against Amber Heard, we, the jury, award compensatory damages in the amount of $10 million. As against Amber Heard, we, the jury, award punitive damages in the amount of $5 million.
All right, so I'm here with my co-hosts Brian Buckmeyer and Terry Austin. Brian, I'll start with you. $1 million down from more than $10 million. Does that seem right to you? And by the way, what happens if she continues to make defamatory statements now?
Jesse, I think that Johnny Depp is playing chess, not checkers, and asking for the $1 million because don't forget, it's less than $2 million that Amber Heard supposedly won, or not supposedly won, actually won in the case. So the question now becomes, are you going to try to collect on that $2 million when he went down from 10 to 1? And of course, he's always said this is not about the money. It's about clearing his name. And I think this kind of proves that. Now, if she continues to make defamatory statements, he can again file suit against her. I think that's probably why this case got settled, and that's why he's trying to handle it the way that it is. He's trying to look magnanimous here.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants another trial, and there's no gag order. He's basically like, just say what you want to say. Terry, in the bigger context, this settlement, the entire saga, how's that going to impact the Me Too movement and women who want to bring these types of claims?
Well, I've just got to say, I am grateful that this did settle. I mean, we had the UK case, we had the US case, we had her potential appeal. So it's a good move. But I think the Me Too movement is going to survive. This was a little bit damaging as far as Me Too is concerned. In fact, they put out a statement right before the verdict saying that this has been misused and that it's actually harming the women that it was designed to protect. But I do think that there are safeguards in place. I think this jury did not believe this witness, but I do believe other jurors will believe other witnesses.
So in other words, this is a very unique situation. Maybe don't use it as a test for everything else that would come down the pipeline. Well, jurors in the sexual assault trial for disgraced movie mogul Harvey Weinstein are in their 10th day of deliberations. This comes after a recess Thursday and Friday. The jury returned to the Los Angeles courthouse on Monday. Now, Weinstein is charged with 7 sexual-related counts involving 4 women. 4 other women testified that they too were assaulted. Weinstein's defense team says that some of the assaults were simply made up, while others were consensual sexual relationships or transactional. In other words, that the women might get a part in a Weinstein movie, for example. Court officials confirmed the jury has asked for some readback of testimony, but most jury communications are being quite kept secret. We asked Judge Brandon Birmingham, who presides over a district court in Texas, why he thinks it might be taking the jurors so long to reach a decision. He told us it could have something to do with all the attention the trial is getting.
Maybe they've already got decisions that are made and they are, just going to try to go over it. I do know, having done a lot of research on the Jack Ruby trial, that that's what the jurors did. They actually came in, they took a vote, and the foreperson withheld his vote, even though he wrote in his book later that he was going to vote guilty because he didn't want it to be too quick. He didn't want to give the impression that in a large trial, a big trial, nationally renowned trial like that the jury just sort of skipped over everything and didn't even consider it. So maybe there's something like that too. Timothy McVeigh juror said the same thing. And even in trials that are not so high profile and nationally renowned like that, the jurors want to give everybody their sort of due diligence. And, I hear prosecutors or lawyers, defense attorneys too, saying, hey, vote for guilty or vote for not guilty. This shouldn't take more than 5 minutes and all that. But I don't think jurors really appreciate that because of the weight of the decision, whether it's easy or whether it's hard.
Now, all that is happening out on the West Coast. You might recall that Weinstein was already convicted of rape in New York, and he was sentenced to 23 years in prison. Well, we turn now to the University of Idaho quadruple murder case. Moscow police now say more than 10,000 tips have come in since the 4 students were brutally stabbed to death in November. In newly discovered surveillance video, 2 people believed to be victims, Kaylee Gonsalves and Maddie Mogan, are seen walking in downtown Moscow hours before the killings. In the video, a woman could be heard asking, "Maddie, what did you say to Adam?" She replied, "Like I told Adam everything." While many online have jumped to Adam being a suspect, Kaylee's father, Stephen Gonsalves, told Fox News that that person is not a suspect. The video was posted to a Facebook group dedicated to the case. The person who shared it said that they had submitted the video to police but thought getting it out to the public would be more helpful. Police have said repeatedly that they will only release vetted information that does not hinder their investigation. Over now in Texas, we're following the trial and conviction of former Fort Worth police officer Aaron Dean. The jury is deliberating in Dean's penalty phase. The ex-officer was convicted of manslaughter last week in the 2019 death of Tatiana Jefferson. Dean went to Jefferson's home after receiving a call from a concerned neighbor about Jefferson's doors being open late at night. As Dean walked around the outside of the property, he shot and killed Jefferson through her bedroom window. Sentencing began right after Dean's conviction, and more evidence was presented from both sides. Before closing arguments on Monday, the defense said Dean's family is receiving death threats. In fact, a man was arrested and escorted out of court on Friday for making terroristic threats to the family. The judge, addressing Friday's arrest, said, quote, "My goal is to protect everyone." As for Mr. Dean, he faces between 2 and 20 years in prison. And welcome back, everybody. A college in Ohio has finally finished paying a local bakery after publicly calling them racist. A judge ordered the school to pay $25 million plus $11 million in interest and attorney's fees. Gibson's Bakery and Food Mart took matters into their own hands after a student from Oberlin College stole a bottle of wine in 2016. Alan Gibson, the bakery owner's son, chased after and tackled the student, leading to a fight when 2 friends got involved. They later pleaded guilty to misdemeanor charges, and because all 3 accused in the shoplifting incident, were black, Oberlin College students decided to protest outside of the store. In fact, according to court records, school administrators even handed out flyers at one of the protests, and those flyers called the bakery a, quote, racist establishment with a long account of racial profiling and discrimination. So what did the bakery do? Well, the bakery sued the school for libel, and they won. Oberlin College appealed the case to the Ohio Supreme Court, which declined to take up the case. So, Terry, it took nearly 6 years for the bakery to get out their payout. Is that reasonable when you factor in the entire appellate process?
You know, it is reasonable, at least in this instance. It's a long time, but it makes sense. First of all, the amount of the verdict was so large that any losing party is going to automatically appeal that. And even though the Ohio Supreme Court declined to hear the case, the appeal process is very lengthy with briefing schedules, arguing schedules, and those deadlines are often pushed back. And on top of all of that, obviously, the COVID pandemic caused a backlog of cases in courts around the country. Some of those courts are just now clearing their backlogs. And remember, this was a small family-owned business that lost a lot of money because of the statements made against it. You can't just recklessly claim an establishment is racist unless there's evidence to support that claim. And the bakery is finally getting the $36 million payout. which they say is bittersweet after all of this time. You know, Jess, we are seeing multiple defamation cases today with big payouts, including the Johnny Depp case we talked about and the case against Alex Jones. I think people are finally taking these cases far more seriously.
Bittersweet, I like that. That was a nice touch, talking about a bakery. Brian, is there a lesson here for libel, you know, for the college and maybe people in general?
Yeah, I think, Jesse, it kind of piggybacks off of what Terry is saying. If you're going to make an accusation, make sure you can back it up. I get it. Is there profiling when it comes to young black men going into stores? Yes, that exists in many avenues. But it seems here, based on this lawsuit, it didn't exist in this bakery. And I think the school made the problem of getting involved. If this was just a protest with the students and they chose not to go to this bakery, then that's them. But the school getting involved and not having all the facts and not arguing it the way they should have, you can see here they're paying $36 million, and that's a lot of bread.
Yeah. How do I compete with that? I mean, I can't even come up with the on fly, like a cupcake that's the whole cake, piece of cake. You guys are too good. I don't know what to say. Brian, Terry, thanks so much. Everyone out there, thanks for joining us here on Law and Crime Daily. We're going to see you next time as we discuss justice in America.